Producers, how are you guys doing today? I'm going to start by doing something a little bit different than what I usually do. And as you can tell, first things first, I set the BPM to 156. I think that's a good tempo for this style. 156 is the same as 78. So if we wanted to, we could have like some slow melodies and then have like a fast beat, or vice versa, or have like a fast melody and a fast beat. It really depends on if we really play something at 78 BPM or 156. It's basically the same BPM. But what I was gonna do is use an actual guitar and use that to create a sample that's gonna be the whole foundation of this track, and then we're gonna build from there. Now, I'm not a guitar player, so this is gonna be very tedious, but if I can just play the melody right just once and then like put the pieces together, then we can just have something that actually makes sense and that works. So first things first, I'm gonna put on my headphones and then I'm gonna try to record a sample of this guitar real quick. Alright, so I was recording at 720p. I just changed it to 1080p, and real quick we're just gonna go ahead and record this melody real quick. Alright. Damn it. This hurts my fingers so much. I'm not used to playing. Alright, now we have enough sample material. Holy crap, that was so tiring. It hurts my fingers and stuff. Like, I'm not a guitar player. I haven't played guitar in months. But really, all I wanted to do is get the sounds and the notes down. And now we can create samples and like chop this up and get the good parts, because a lot of this is not good by itself right now. So something like that. If I chop this up, and I divide this by 2, go to like an even faster BPM here, and let's play with the transient right here. As you can tell, there's this arrow. This means it's one-shot mode, so at each transient or at each little pluck, it's gonna play once and then it's gonna stop. And we can shorten the plucks. See what I'm talking about? And again, I'm playing with this length right here. Real quick, let me make sure my audio is recording right and everything. Then I'm gonna come right back. Alright, so everything's recording fine. I'm gonna use my monitors now. Let's chop up this melody a little bit. As you can tell, we played with the transients and everything. So what we can do is start rearranging everything that we recorded and try to come up with like new patterns and stuff. And here, let me go back out here and let's put it in complex mode. Let me think about this. I want to make it super long again. So let's hit ×2 again to get it back to 156. And let's place all the transients. So one of the cool things with Ableton is the warping. And I guess we can do this in, we can demonstrate warping in this tutorial. You just got to find out where each of these little peaks are. Now Ableton already kind of detected it, so we just have to double click where all these gray points are. Alright, so now what we can do is actually like drag these to the lines, like to the actual lines, and have this be quantized and play more in tempo, because I was a little bit off. So that's one of the cool things with warping. Look, I can like start dragging stuff and it's gonna get retimed. So real quick, let me do that with all of these, and I'm gonna go ahead and go back to this right here. Let's just do that, and let's multiply this by 2 again, get it back to the original tempo, and let's do the same thing. I'm just dragging it to all the grid lines so that it's right on the grid. I think that's closer. Now let's go back to beats mode. I changed it to complex mode. Let's go back to the beats mode and do the same thing with the one shot mode. This one arrow means one shot, and we're gonna shorten everything down. Let me put on my headphones again. Let's get rid of this transient right here. Let's delete all these extra gray markers, because Ableton thinks that these are transients or different. It thinks that it's different plucks. A transient is like a peak of a sound. So Ableton thinks that I'm actually playing more notes than I actually did. So let's delete all these extra little gray markers. And now, once we're done with that, we can go ahead and use the beats mode, and it's gonna chop up our actual yellow markers that we actually placed. So let's get rid of all of these. Same thing with this. Let's get rid of that. All right, let's go back to beats mode, do the same thing. Let's shorten this. And let's put like reverb or something on here. It sounds super dry and everything. What happens if we pitch this up? Or down. Alright, that's cool. Let's combine these clips with Command J. Uh-oh. Let me make sure I turn off beats mode. Let's go back to complex mode, which is just gonna slow, it's not gonna slow everything down, it's gonna retime everything without changing the length, which is what happens when you have beats mode on. So we want to not have beats mode on, and then we want to combine them so that it doesn't apply the beats mode to the actual clips. Because if I had beats mode on, let's go back in time and hit Command Z, like what I do right here, like what I have right here, and then I hit Command J. If I do that with beats mode on, it's gonna chop everything down and it's gonna make it permanently short. So we don't want that. We want it to be in complex mode. So let's go back to the clip and put it on complex mode. And now we can combine it. super dark sounding when we pitch it down low. Let's take it back up. And let's go with beats mode for all of these. And let's do the one shot mode again, like I said. Let me put a compressor on here. Let's see what happens if we put like chorus or something on here. Let's go back to all these clips again. Let's make this a little bit longer. Let me fade this out right here. Same thing with this. Let's divide it by 2 again. Alright, that's cool. We have our own sample. People always want to, I mean, not people, but some people always want to like talk about like how sampling is bad and all that. But really, when you're using any sample, you're really just taking something that somebody played, like what I just did, and you're using it as part of a song. So this time I actually made the sample. So hopefully that satisfies some people. You can make your own dope samples if you learn how to play an instrument. I don't really know how to play the guitar, but as a producer, that's the cool thing. You can use your skills to make things work that would not work. Anyways, I'm playing with this Arturia, like, what is it called? This Arturia V collection, because in the style that I'm going for right now, like, he'll use a lot of these types of analog instruments or whatever, and I'm just gonna look through some of these presets and hopefully find something that sounds cool that we can use for like a chord progression or something like that. I guess that works. Let's hit capture, and it's gonna capture what we just played. Let's reverse this. Let's put this down to a D and put this one up to an F, I think it was. No. Put it up to A. So you kind of have to think about things in your head and imagine how you want the next note to end. That's how you move forward in a song. And that's a question that I get a lot, like, how do you come up with songs? I don't want you guys trying to like think of the whole final product, unless that's something that you already have in your head, that you know how you want the final. That's the best thing you can do, actually. If you're a skilled enough producer that you can imagine like a whole song in your head, and then you create every little piece until it becomes real life, then that's like the ultimate form of like mastery. Like you master production. But really, you can do it at a smaller scale. Rather than having the whole song in your head, you start with something and then you imagine the next thing, the next melody that you hear on top of it. You try to add that, and then you add the next thing, you add the next thing, then you step back and you have a full song. So just like a mindset tip there. Hopefully I didn't get too long-winded. Anyways, next up, let's get this CS80. It's more of like a pad type of instrument, so I want to try to get a nice pad that we can use to make chords. Listen to how cool these sounds are. I like this. Alright, let's get some actual chord sounds. I want to get like some sort of string sound or something that we can kind of have fade in. Let me think about this. Maybe we should get like an actual string instrument, like let's get Contact and get the session strings, which is just a string sample library, and then we'll be able to play the chords, and I'm gonna layer it with some other stuff. So that's something cool about Ableton that I'm gonna show you guys, is that right now we have the strings, as you can tell, from Contact. But what we can do real quick is go down to this track right here. Let me hide my face, and let me make sure my face is hidden real quick. Alright, so my face is hidden. What we can do is hit Command G, or you can, I think you can right click and do group. And you're wondering why you may be wondering why I'm grouping it when there's only one instrument. What you can do after that is hit this, what is this? Is this chain? What does this button mean? Chain list. Okay, yeah, it's the chain. You can hit this chain button, and we can drag other instruments and layer it. So instead of using like 20 MIDI tracks to layer the same melody, you can just layer sounds on one track with the group. And now it's a string and it's serum. So really cool. And I want to do something almost like synthy and realistic. So I'm gonna layer a super saw with these strings right here. That's so sexy. Now listen to each of these sounds individually. I'm gonna mute the strings. That's what the super saw sounds like. Now I'm gonna show you guys what the strings sound like. Now let's combine them. It's way better. That's why you want to layer sounds. Let's get an EQ and get each of these sounds their own space. So let me drag an EQ to serum down here. You can have individual EQs, individual effects for each instrument in the chain. And we're gonna have serum only be like the high end, as you can tell. Let's make these strings a little bit louder. I love this, man. Now let's make some chords. Let's draw some actual chords instead of playing it this time. love this already. This is so cool. Alright, I'll have to come up with this off camera. Probably skip through this and like come up with a chord progression because I'm just experimenting right now. And other than that, I'm gonna be right back. Alright, so I came up with a melody or a chord progression for these strings and whatnot. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna freeze this track. Let me hide my face cam right now so that when I start working down here, you guys can see. Let me just create a new MIDI track and let's just hold Alt and copy this just by dragging. If you hold Alt and you drag something, it's gonna create a duplicate. I'm just gonna keep this MIDI for later. So right now we have this really cool melody, right? Something about this style is that there's a lot of reverse melodies and whatnot. So we're going to select everything. We're going to hit reverse all of these notes. So the sound right now is not reversed, the notes are reversed. But what we're going to do is we're going to freeze this track. Some of you guys may already know where I'm going with this. We're going to turn this into audio and we're going to re-reverse it so that the notes are back at the in like the normal kind of order, I guess. So let's flatten this, turn it into audio. When you freeze a track, you're really just saving a bunch of CPU, but if you hit flatten, then you're permanently turning it into audio. You can always hit undo with Control Z, but if you want to work with audio, you would want to flatten it, which is what we just did, and we're going to re-reverse it. You can either hit this reverse button right here, or you can press R in the arrangement. So if I select this and I hit R, it's gonna reverse it. Anyways. Alright, so now we have the strings kind of reversed. So that was how I wanted to do this kind of melody stuff. But what we're gonna do is, as you can tell, I saved the MIDI down here. I want to try different instruments than strings. So let's go ahead and real quick, let me undo everything I just did. So this whole thing was just pointless. Let's just keep the strings how they are. Down here, we're gonna try different instruments. So this is why I like the Arturia collection. I like it more for the presets. I think you can sound design with it, but yeah, you can, but the fact that it has a lot of presets makes it into like a huge kind of preset machine, in my opinion. Let's try different sounds from different instruments. Let's do what we did with the strings, and let's hit Command G and create more, add more sounds to this. Now what we can do as well is we can go into the MIDI effects in Ableton, and let's add a pitch MIDI effect, and let's put this ARP here, let's put it up an octave. I don't like how this one sounds though. I gotta turn off my notifications real quick, so I'll be right back. All right, anyways, I'm back. I turned off my computer notifications. All right, this one's cool. Let's see if we can change the BPM. This is a super complicated layout, so this might take a while, but I want to change the speed of this. Is there a way to do that? I know there's a way to do that, but this is going to take forever to figure out. Clock frequency? Now let's see if I can find the release. All right. This is really cool. I just want to make sure my face cam was on, so I just turned it back on. Where's this white noise coming from? Alright, now let's do what we just did earlier, where we select everything, then we hit reverse, freeze the track, flatten it, and then we hit R to reverse it again. Take it up an octave. Uh-oh, wrong button. So right now I'm just playing with beats mode. Like I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just messing around. Just chopping it up. All right, somebody's calling me. I'm gonna be right back. All right, so I'm back. Since last time, I actually picked a few drums and put it into this drum rack right here. And let me go ahead and hide my face. There's a drum rack track right here, and then I picked 3 sounds. Now this clap is from the Trap Essentials kit. It's the plug clap number 22. I got the plug hi-hat, and I have a kick from the Hip Hop Essentials kit. Kick number 25. I felt like this was like the type of kick I was looking for. Anyways, I also recorded like some ad-libs, like how Carti would do it. I'm not gonna play them right now because it won't make sense with the beat. but eventually we're gonna get there. And of course I added the PIERRE BOURNE tag. Let's just do this right here. Now again, we were playing with this sound here. I'm just gonna leave it how it is, and we're gonna come back to that later. We don't really need to mess with it too much right now. I think it sounds all right. But let's go ahead and come up with a drum pattern. So first things first, we want to select an area, right click and hit insert MIDI clip. And what I like to do is just place the clap first. Make sure this is loud enough. I don't want to, do I want to add that extra clap? I don't know. Let's just keep it like this for now. All right, let's take this and put this over. I don't know if I like that. Let's take this here and put it there. That kind of works. Let me think about this a little bit more. Let's take this whole thing and drag it over like this. I guess that works. All right, let's start placing the kick though. All right, cool. And we're just gonna duplicate this pattern over. And then on the second part, I wanna add that signature double kick. The hi-hat sounds a little bit loud, so what I'm going to do is turn it down a little bit. And let me hide my face again. Let's go ahead and turn down the sustain here. It's going to make it sound a lot shorter and a lot more clicky. Now, the only thing we're missing at this point is the 808, so it's only right that we start adding that now. I have this MIDI track right here. I already know which 808 I want to use. I want to use the Kingpin 808. That's what I called it from my 808 Essentials kit. And very familiar sound. All right, let's do something like that. Let's take this up an octave. No, that F doesn't work. Let's take this to an A actually. That works. I'm gonna experiment with this a little bit off camera and I'll come back with a pattern that I really like. Alright, so I'm back. I came up with a pattern. It's basically the same one. Changed a few notes. No, I'm not gonna add that last 808. What can we add? Maybe an A. Alright, that's decent. Let's see what happens. Let me have my face real quick. Let's see what happens if we turn up the release. Alright, and we need to turn it to one voice because or else the 808s are gonna overlap. And let's try different ones. Like, I really like the Dissolve 808. But let's just use the Kingpin one. I like that one. Alright, now I can show you guys these ad-libs I was recording. Complete trash, but for those of you that listen to Carti's music, you gotta at least try to add that. I'm not gonna keep it, but this is what it would sound like if Carti was like rapping on this. It's not really rapping, it's just ad-libs. And then he comes in right there. So, you know, he always gets that. How many is this? 1, 2, 3. This is 8 bars, like 8 bars of ad-libs, and then he comes in. Anyways, let's see. How can I move this forward? All right, so something I wanted to do is with the strings. Like, if we add them right now, they're really intrusive. They sound cool and all, but what I want to do is add mutes. So I'm gonna get this utility plugin right here, and the utility can be used. What the fuck? Oh, this is the. I was like, why is there so many EQs? Because this one is part of the instrument. All right. Anyways, the utility has like a mute button, as you can tell right here. So what I'm gonna do is go to automation mode by clicking this right here, and we're gonna automate the mute. So just gonna do something like this. Just so it has that rhythm to it, that bounce to it. Dun, dun, dun. You know what I'm saying? Instead of just being like dun, 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 and taking up all that space. Let me shut up. Alright, Alright, let me turn off these cringy ad-libs. Alright, anyways, that's what I wanted to do. And finally, another thing I wanted to do with the strings before we just leave them alone is I wanted to add vibrato. So I wanted to have like a wobbling kind of pitch. And what you can do is get a delay. In Ableton is called simple delay. And turn up the wetness to 100% so you're just hearing the delay. Hit link so it's only one signal, and turn this to time, and basically turn it as low as it can possibly go, which is 1 millisecond of delay. That's no delay at all basically. And we're gonna go to repitch mode. Now if we start playing with the time, that's super ugly, but we're gonna go to max for live, and we're gonna get a LFO. I always do this trick, man. The thing with the LFO is just it controls any parameter. So we're gonna turn the offset all the way to -100, so it starts at the most bottom, like the lowest point, which would be 1 millisecond right here, and we're gonna map it to the time right here. Now this LFO is controlling this this pitch because we put it in repitch mode by right clicking and clicking repitch. Now we're gonna turn up the rate a little bit, and we're gonna obviously turn down the depth. So now we get a nice, pleasant wobble to this sound, and it sounds a lot more organic. Alright, so real quick, let's just cut this with Command X or Control X if you're on Windows. Let's get out of automation mode and let's right click and freeze this track. I just want to turn it to audio so I don't have to worry about it anymore. We don't want to lose this MIDI though, so let me create another MIDI track and just copy the MIDI here just in case we need it in the future. Just gonna mute that and put it to the side. But we're gonna flatten this track now. Hopefully this doesn't freeze on me. What is going on? Okay, so now it's in audio format, and we can put this vibrato thing back on here by hitting Control V. Cool. Anyways, that's a little bit too intense. Let's turn down the depth. With this sound right here, let's delay it a little bit. I also put a reverb on here. Becomes a lot more ambient and whatnot. Anyways, I want to think about how I want to progress with this. This beat is sounding almost done. Like, if you know Pierre Bourne, he doesn't overdo the beats. There's a lot of cool sounds, but at the end of the day, it might take him an hour to make any given beat that he's made, and he doesn't really overproduce stuff. So this honestly could work. Like, if you got an actual rapper on here. You could actually turn this into a song, but obviously I have no verse on here. But yeah, I'm gonna come right back, and I may just progress forward off camera and come back and explain any little things that I added. The last thing I added, and I just wanted to cover this, is that I added this bell sound from my Vibrant kit. Let's see, it's key number 44. And I just used those chords. But just in case this is the end of the video, I want to thank you guys for watching. I'm going to play the final product. I'm going to mix this, master it, and change some of the settings. I feel like this string vibrato is still kind of loud. I mean, loud, not loud, super strong. It's too much vibrato in my opinion, I think. And if I do anything else, I'll come back and explain it. But thanks for watching, guys. Definitely subscribe below if you enjoyed this video, and of course leave a like if you enjoyed. I will see you guys next time.
Yo, Pierre, you want to come out here?